Okay, it's preparing now. Hope you guys are having a good morning so far. Everything bright and sunny today?
It's Arizona.
Yeah, no choice there, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're live on YouTube. Yes, it is streaming. Perfect. And I need to turn off my Outlook. Sorry. Okay. Good morning. I'm Christina Dillabo, Director of Communications for the Desert Southwest Conference. If you didn't know that, today's your first time watching this Tuesday talk on YouTube. Great to meet you. Please email communications@dscumc.org to receive a weekly meeting invitation, which includes notes on what we're going to talk about, but it doesn't limit what we're going to talk about. We're always open to receiving questions, tips, even prayer requests on these Tuesday talks with church communicators. And as we all know, church communicators aren't necessarily just one person at each church. There could be multiple people from your church that is the church communicator, may even be the pastor. And actually, Sherry has some great insights on Sherry Hull, who's joining us today, our Communication Commission Chair. I had the pleasure of meeting with her last week, and we talked about different roles for different people, understanding your role. And if you are a pastor that's having to be the communications person and the debt and then whatever else, you should connect with Sherry to talk about creating job descriptions for the different people at your church, and which includes the communications person at your church. If you don't have one already, it's, you need to create that position, paid or volunteer, with a clear description of what their responsibilities entail. And hopefully it would include that connection to this group, which really should be a pretty big gathering. We have somewhere around 140 churches or fellowships within the conference, and this meeting is open to every one of those churches and fellowships, and then some. So it could be 3 people from your church that joins us. There's really not a limit. All are welcome, and I hope that you can join us or send someone from your church next week. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and dive into the first item today is about the Pride Day worship service. Pride Day, which is Reconciling Ministries Day, I guess, is this year it's scheduled for Sunday, June 6th. And we do have worship service that was pre-recorded and ready to download and import into your church's worship stream service. That is available at dscumc.org/worship. If you go there, and I will go ahead and share my screen. This is what you see. So right now, yes, we've got the Pride Sunday right here. If you click on it, you'll get to the Google Drive, or here as well. You get to the Google Drive where you'll see the recording is ready to go and the word-by-word script of the worship service. So if your church has members that do not have access to the internet, you can download the script and mail it out to your members. We do have a graphic that I see is not uploaded here, so I will add that as well. It's this one right here that you can use as a YouTube thumbnail. And so I'm going to show you a little bit more about what this particular web page has to offer for your church. So you can see if there's any plans for another worship service prepared by a conference or district, or even a local church for use at the local church level for any other church to use. We'll have that information here in coming up for 2021. If there was a very recent recording that was available before that was featured and you could still use it, we'll include that here. And then like much later previous services. I mean, yes, we've got the Easter service here as well, but you can also see the Campus Ministry Sunday recording. I plan on compiling additional recordings here that you could use down the road. So, for example, the Sunday, June 6th Pride worship service, what you have available now is the one full worship service as one video that you can download. And you know what? I don't remember if yes, I did. I compressed the file to make it easier for you guys to use. Sorry, just had a little worry that, oh no, did I do that? But anyway, so what you'll have available later is all the pieces of the services, which it explains it right here, available on June 8th for use in other services during the month of June for Pride Month. So that stuff broken down bit by bit, just like it is here, there's different pieces available for you to download. We'll have that available in this space too. Both as access to the drive where everything will be there and a bullet point list of all the different things. Maybe you just want to use the opening prayer or closing prayer, or whatever. So all that will be available and down here in this previous services section. Okay, next item. Oh, actually, do we have any questions about that? No, okay. I do want to mention that anytime that we share a worship service for local church use, we're doing our very best to make sure that music that's included or readings that are included are covered by your church's CCLI copyright and streaming license, which is paid for and provided by the Desert Southwest Conference. The only other items that might be in there would not require a copyright license. So it would be original works, whether it's from the local church or some other organization that partners with the Desert Southwest Conference at some point to provide these resources. Okay. Hello. All right, let's look at what's the next item. Conference lay leader nomination. So the deadline is officially June 1st. That'll be the last day to submit a nomination. But if you have someone in mind and you weren't able to connect with them, or that person, maybe you did talk to them about it and they still haven't made up their mind, and you need a little bit more time, that's okay. Just let me know and we'll keep that forum open. I believe that we're even going to share the video by Lori Limeberry, inviting people to start thinking about who might be a good conference lay leader. I think we're going to show that video during the next practice session for legislation and all that for annual conference. And that practice session will be on June 9th at 6 p.m. I'll talk about that more in just a sec. So are there questions about the conference lay leader nomination? Go ahead, Sherry.
One of the questions I had was, again, is there a specific job description someplace for people who might be considering that, or just some idea?
Yeah, thank you. I will include that link in the response email. We have some articles, link, job description. We do have an article that talks quite a bit about, what the Book of Discipline says that position is all about and what our journal says that position is all about. But then the updates to it, thanks to your feedback, is what Lori says. Lori Limeberry, our current lay leader, has said that this is the type of stuff that I normally do. And these are the groups that I'm a part of that I would have to meet with. But it's still not, set in stone that that's exactly it, period. That's all that the conference lay leader does. It really kind of depends on what's happening in the world, in our conference. What are the gifts that lay leader brings to that position? There's things that Lori Limeberry has been essential on because of her professional experience. So she was brought into other groups that maybe the conference lay leader wouldn't normally be brought into. So it can change some, but definitely the basics are there. And as things change, it would all be in conjunction with, in collaboration with the new conference lay leader. It wouldn't just be, hey, by the way, now you got to do this too. It wouldn't be like that. It would be in conversation and mutual agreement that, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm excited to be a part of that. So
I think that's important to be able to say all of those things or get that into something, because for anyone out there, everybody's busy doing something, you know. So it's a bit difficult to wrap my brain around and, you know, try to look at that. Maybe it's just me, but if somebody was even considering that, just to have some idea about time commitment even, and travel commitment, and, you know, the nuts and bolts of it, but then some idea of those two things. And I hear what you're saying, you know, that it can evolve and so forth too, but just some idea of that might help, you know. And if there was a basic job description, would be terrific. I think the discipline, frankly, is hard to read, and looking at what, you know, like we've looked at that for the commission, you know, there's several things you can sit and read it, but then how do you interpret that? And who is the go-to person to actually, besides Lori, who would be a go-to that would give you an overview or more in-depth if that was needed? Just a thought.
yeah, great. Thank you for that. So I've posted the link to the article that I was referencing, and here's what that looks like. And so FYI, if you have not visited this site before, sometimes we've got these little gray boxes with the down arrow. You click on that and you can read what that's all about. So here she talks a little bit about the commitment, time commitment, like I said, what the Book of Discipline says, what the journal says, and there's information about nominations. If you have questions, yes, you can reach out to Lori Lineberry, but I would encourage you to email the bishop and ask the bishop, especially if you are one of the people that's considering doing a self-nomination for this position. The bishop would be a great person to ask about, well, what else might I be called into? Or these are some of my gifts. Or I work full-time, but I'm feeling called to this position. Can we talk about what that means, how it could work, if I would be a good fit, you know, any of that stuff. Contact the Episcopal office, Bishop Bob, talk to Julie O'Neill. Any of those people could give you a good, they'd be able to talk to you about what that position might be like in these next 4 years. Of course, Lori Lineberry would be a great person too, but if she wasn't available, or you did have some other questions that maybe she didn't have the answers to, or whatever, contact the bishop. Thanks, Sherry. Any other questions about that? Okay, then let's go on to the next item. Yes, the bishop's informal interview for AAPI month. So I sent you guys the link to the Google Drive to download the recording, and I'm going to go ahead and go to that now. Share my screen once again. So this is what you have available. It's the previous AAPI panel discussion that you can use at your local church. We've got the trailer that we shared before, and this is the recording that's on YouTube now. And if you wanted to use any of that for your local church stuff, here's where we've got quite a bit of the graphics. And darn it, I didn't link to the AAPI graphics, so I'll add that in there before I send the email to you all about what we talked about today. Let me write that in my notes. Well, can't find my Word document. Well, I'll write it down.
For anyone who didn't watch that panel discussion, that AAPI panel discussion, it is well worth your time and well worth sharing with anyone else. It is absolutely outstanding. The folks that were on that panel were incredible, and it was such great insight into that. I just was so impressed with all of it.
Thank you, Sherry. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And Bishop Bob's interview is pretty good, and it's not too long. It doesn't lose your interest. It's one of those, if you've ever watched the show Hot Wings, where people are eating while they're being interviewed, you'll see that it is possible, even though sometimes on Hot Wings it does get a little messy and there's like nose drippings because it's spicy stuff. But it is possible and captivating to have eating and interviewing video sessions. So it's available on YouTube now. It was, I'll share with you guys, I had some technical difficulties. Potentially, maybe I just lost an email. I don't know. But yeah, it was scheduled to go live last night at 7 p.m. and the video wasn't up. We just had the, pending thing going. So to try to fix that, I quickly uploaded it as I shared it as a live Zoom session, like right now. So of course that creates a new URL. It doesn't use the existing one. So and I'm pretty sure that I've shared that URL with you guys before. So keep that in mind if you were planning on sharing it from YouTube. It'll be a brand new URL. It's the one that was included in today's email. So previous ones are not going to work for you. What else? And it was shared on Facebook. I haven't tested it this morning to see if it worked well or not. But yeah, we had quite a few people waiting to watch and talking in chat, like, how much longer? What's going on? So apologies to all those people that did join us on YouTube. It is up now. It's just at a different URL. And if that wasn't enough, when I was doing the Zoom session last night, there was all sorts of technical things happening with Zoom. Many times I've done a broadcast like this to YouTube, and I can go to other windows, another browser, and while I'm having the session and it doesn't have, nothing bad happens. This time in last night's streaming, when I was doing anything on Zoom, like if I was opening up a window at the bottom, right now I just clicked on stop live stream. I didn't click on it, I opened it up. But on the live stream itself, you would see a little black box there, like, oh, something's covering it up. I had opened up another browser over what was happening, so I could comment on the other YouTube streaming section on the chat. Hey, come to this URL. This is where we're at. But while I was doing that, it was blocking what I was streaming. It was just crazy. I wasn't sharing my full desktop. I was only sharing that app. But that live stream last night had all sorts of problems with it. So then later, after all that happened and I was watching it and I saw all these black boxes popping up every time I was doing something, I ended up having to upload another copy of the video. And so that one was finally good. So if you watched the live stream last night and think you have the right URL, you don't, because I had to delete that one and upload a new one. So FYI, this stuff happens. What are you going to do? It is what it is. But yeah, so the link that you received in today's email is the One Good YouTube link for the bishop's interview. I highly encourage you to watch it, share it in your church communications. It's really, really interesting. I'm not going to say any more about it. I know I've watched it a few times now, and each time that I watch it, I get a little bit more insight, and it really makes you reflect on what you may or may not believe about your own ideas on either, am I racist? I couldn't be racist, or, whatever. It's really interesting, and it would be a great lead-in to start using the 21-day challenge resources from DSC Race Coalition. Okay, any questions about that? No, okay. Let's see, we did the interview, conference leader nomination. So finally, the recording of the annual conference or pre-conference briefing is available. Anything having to do with annual conference, go to dscumc.org/AC. as we have things available, they are linked there. And so, yes, the recording is available there. That doesn't mean if your lay members to annual conference or your church pastor wasn't able to make it to that pre-conference briefing, yeah, watch the recording, but have them register for the follow-up practice session that's happening on the week of annual conference. Specifically, it is on Wednesday, June 9th at 6 p.m. The reason why it's really important to not rely on that pre-recording is because of how being virtual, you need to practice what it means to watch Zoom and participate in voting, or if you have a question or want to call the question or anything like that, there's a specific process in place to do that. It's not like you can just put in chat, I want to call the question, or I have a question, or whatever. You won't have chat available if you're going to be participating in annual conference. It's a whole other method, and it's not the same as last year. It's even easier, but it is different. So it's really, really important to get that practice time in before annual conference so that every vote is counted and everyone feels like they have the confidence and understanding in how to participate in this year's annual conference. Will this be the last year that we do a virtual annual conference? I have no idea. I mean, we thought it was going to be the last time last year, the one and only time, and here we are again. So who knows? Any questions about that? No? Okay. So the recording is available at dscumc.org/AC, and so is the link to register for annual conference. I'm going to share my screen one more time. Go back to... So here from the home page, you can click Annual Conference 2021 and you'll get to the annual conference page, or you can share the link dscumc.org/AC, which is a shortcut to the page dscumc.org/annual-conference. So the link to the recording is here. The link to register for the June 9th session is here. And what else was I going to share with you guys? Darn it, there was something else about annual conference. Maybe if it comes to me later, I'll include it in the email. Oh, yes. So you'll notice that there's not, where's the link to register for annual conference? Where's, the link to register for the clergy session? All that stuff is not here because really, well, as each session is about to start the week of, I will get everyone registered into the specific Zoom session. So it'll be one for the laity session, one for the clergy session. It'll be one for the Friday plenary, one for the Saturday plenary, one for the Sunday worship. So we're going to import all of the official members to annual conference into each Zoom session, so people don't have to register themselves for every single individual Zoom session. We went this way this time because last year we had a ton of complaints about why do I have to register for all of these things? Like, well, because that's how you participate. I mean, they're separate sessions. We can't keep one session going in Zoom for days and days and days. So that's what we had to do. And then that ended up creating all sorts of complications with, like, I have 2 different email addresses. Actually, if you include my family one, technically I've got 3 different email addresses. And so sometimes people registered using one email address and the next session they used a different email address. And maybe they went back to the first one, and that caused a whole bunch of confusion and difficulties getting into the right session, because we also had to make sure that every person participated was verified as an official member of the annual conference. Because as participants of the Zoom webinar session, you also had access to vote, whether it's just the hand raising in the session. Well, it was just that. You couldn't actually vote in the other yes, no, abstain through GNTV because you had to use your official email address for that. So that's a different thing. Anyway, So trying to make things easier this year, we had decided let's just import everybody, and they'll have the email with the join link the week of, and they'll get a reminder an hour before each session starts. So that hopefully will make things easier. Just as an FYI or heads up, if your members to annual conference, lay member or clergy, already participated in the pre-conference briefing and is interested in or not interested in participating in the practice session on June 9th at 6 p.m., they'll still get an email from Zoom with their join information. Just FYI, because I'm importing everybody in there. It doesn't mean they have to participate, and I'll try to include something about that in there in the email they get. They're just going to have that option of participating in that second practice session, which for many will be their first. So just in case the pastor talked to you about that or you heard about it, now you know. Questions about that? No. All right. So that's all I had. Next week, I'll have a little bit about a Verizon hotspot information that I received from one of our pastors. This is just a little bit of a teaser. If your church is having a hard time getting enough bandwidth for your Zoom sessions, for your live streaming or whatever, I've been in conversation with a church that is testing out using a Verizon hotspot for that. And they provided all sorts of information for that. And now they've had enough time to practice using it. So I'll have some insights on how that's going. I'll also have some information about what do you need equipment-wise, license-wise, if you are planning on having Zoom and in-person events at your church, like we have at the conference. So I'll have all that stuff for you. And if you are already doing things like that at your church, I would love for you to send me your insights on what's working for you, whether it is a hotspot or a preferred company that you're using. Maybe you found out about a nonprofit discount. Send that information to communications@dscumc.org so we can share it with other churches. Okay, guys, that's it for today, for this week. Thank you, as usual, for joining me. I hope this was a good session for you, and I look forward to seeing you next week.